welcome to Grimsforge Gaming. Today we are going to cover my Stamina Warden, and this is my other Kratos build. So I have a dual wield Stamina DK for the younger Kratos, the Ghost of Sparta Kratos, and I have a Stamina Warden for the older Kratos, the most recent God of War, and you'll see Kratos as a more mature man, and he goes on an adventure with his son Atreus. So anyways, let's jump into the build here. I found some very interesting things. This is an off-meta set, gear set like most of my builds, but it is very powerful and I've been having a lot of fun with it. I've got a lot of footage of it as well, from BGs all the way to soloing world bosses and PVE, to soloing banners, to you name it. This build can do it all. So jumping into the build, we are running two-piece Balors, and I think that fits a Kratos theme very well. When you do an ultimate, he packs a punch after that, and he packs a punch with the ultimate, and then after that, he's going to be extremely strong. So Balors fits the theme of a Kratos. And the second set that we are running is Himjaws, and I'm going to tell you right now, this set is broken. Okay, this set is completely overpowered, and let me tell you why. When you look at it, your 2-piece, 3-piece, and 4-piece, you don't have any weapon damage there, and you would think, well, how powerful can it be? But the 5-piece, when you are within 28 meters of an enemy you are in combat with, and the enemy dies, you gain Major Berserk for 5 seconds, increasing your damage done by 25%. A couple things about that. Number one, it doesn't need to be 28 meters away, okay? It can be however long, and well, we've got video footage to show that. It can be however long. Number two, you yourself do not need to be in contact or in combat with the enemy. If you're in a group of people and someone in your group is in combat with someone, you're going to get this proc. Okay, and so not only is the distance a factor, but the fact that you yourself don't need to be in combat with it. Anyone in your group can be in combat with anyone anywhere, and you're going to get this proc. Okay, you could be off the map on another location, from what I've discovered, and so we'll show you that in the footage here. And then the other thing that is very important about this, that makes this very dangerous set, very powerful set, is the fact that it has 0 cooldown. You will go from one proc to the next as long as things are dying. And if you think about how we're going to be using this, when we gap close to someone, if this set works very well in Imperial City, works well in BGs as well, but in Imperial City there's always trash mobs to be killed. So you basically have almost 100% uptime on this Major Berserk. And just as a note, when you run Bird of Prey, you have Minor Berserk at all times. So we have Major and Minor Berserk almost at all times on this build, which is a plus 33% damage output. Crazy. Anyways, so we're running Balors and we are running Himjaws, and you can get Himjaws from Runes of Mazatoon, and anyways, go check that set out. And then the next set that we are running is Shackle Breaker, and I've got the Shackle Breaker set, and we're running 2-hand with them all, and it is Nirnhoned. And Shackle Breaker, I think, is needed on a Stamina Warden because we use both our Magicka pools and our Stamina pools a lot. And when you watch some of the BG footage and you watch the times that we're running into fights in Imperial City, we pull on both of those for sure. So anyways, Shackle Breaker paired with Himjaws, and we're going to put out a lot of damage. We are 2-hander on our main bar and sword and board on our back bar. And the sword and board, we are running a poison, and this helps us a lot with a little bit of damage and a little bit of heals, and which isn't too bad because on our back bar, the way we use our back bar. Anyways, let's jump into that's the gear. Let's look at the abilities buffed here real quick. And when you look at this here, our resistances, spell resistance 26,000, almost 27, physicals 22. Our weapon damage is 36, almost 37. And our stamina recovery is 1800, health recovery is 1300, and magic recovery is 900. I like where our max magic is at on this build. I like where our max health is, just about 37,000, and our max stamina at 29,000 is great. We can get a lot of things done. We have good penetration on this build for physical penetration. That's good. And our crit resistance is about 1500, which I like to be between 1500 and 2500 crit resistance. And then of course going into Greymore, everyone's going to get an extra 1350 in crit resistance, and so that's going to take this up even higher, 3200, over 3000, close to 3000 crit resistance. So that's good. Let's buff up, and we're going to look at our tooltips. Actually, let's look at our abilities first here real quick, and then we'll kind of go from there. So our abilities, we are running Dizzy Swing, and if Dizzy Swing's going to have a 1200 tooltip, that's really nice, and this sets people off balance regularly and applies a snare. We're running a reverse slice. We need that splash damage on this build. That's a reoccurring theme for us, and that helps us. I don't need to kill a group of 3 people. I only need to get one person low, and as soon as we start putting this into them, everybody's taking damage. Everyone's going to be taking damage from our sub assault as well. It's a 1400 tooltip, or 14,000, sorry. And we're running Bird of Prey, so we have that major expedition for 6 seconds. That's great, and we get minor Berserk while slotted, and you can't really beat that. And when you look at it, this is one of our Magicka dumps. This is why Shackle Breaker is a great fit. We could run forward momentum for a snare removal. However, Bull Netch is free, and if I'm snared, I'll just spam this a couple times. Plus, while I'm spamming this, while I'm spamming it at the bottom, you can see every 5 seconds the Netch removes 1 negative effect. It actually removes 1 negative effect when you click it. So when you first activate your Bull Netch, it's going to immediately move 1 snare or 1 negative effect. Now if you're completely loaded up with negative effects, it might become an issue. So in that moment, maybe you want to run forward momentum or something else. But for now, this has been working out really well for me, and it is free, so you can't beat that. We are running Dawnbreaker of Smiting, and it's got about a 1600 tooltip, or 16,000 tooltip, 1600, 16,000 tooltip, and then you're going to see a 16,000 damage over time over 6 seconds. So, and this stuns your target. So this is a very reliable hard CC for me, and at 125 ult, we get this up a lot. So regularly, what I like to do is hit a heavy attack, so we get the 2-hander follow-up passive. When you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, your next direct damage attack within 7 seconds deals an additional 10%. And so you land a big heavy attack on somebody and then turn around, drop your Dawnbreaker. That first upfront damage of Dawnbreaker is going to have a 10% bonus on it. So that's nice. And jumping into our back bar here. This is my gap closer. I really like having a gap closer on my builds, and so yes, Bird of Prey gives me major expedition, but this is also my most reliable hard CC for single target. So if somebody's trying to get away from me, which happens regularly, rather than spam this to try and keep up with them at 2700 Magicka, our Magicka pool isn't super big. I mean, at 14,000, so I would rather not spend the Magicka chasing someone down. I might hit it initially, but as soon as I get close enough, I want to shield assault him. It's going to give him some damage, and it's going to apply a stun to him, and it'll give me a little damage shield. And so another thing too is from a RP standpoint, if you've ever watched Kratos in battle, I'll do some footage here just so you can see, but an attack's coming in and he will block it with his shield and then stun the target and counter them. And so this fits perfect. This is exactly what he's doing. Kratos is stunning the target with a shield attack. He's bashing them and stunning them with a shield attack. So can't beat that. I'm also running Deep Slash, and this thing is awesome. I'm going to tell you. Um, So if you wanted to do ult gen, you could do the other form of it, but I like the minor maim that comes from this. All enemies hit with this get minor maim, reducing their damage done by 15% for 12 seconds, and this allows me to box multiple people at the same time or stay in the fight. And I've got footage of this. Also, you can debuff um, banners and all kinds of stuff with this, so the damage output is not only less for that you're going to receive, but your party as well. So anyways, I really am a fan of Deep Slash, and another thing about this, sweeping, dealing physical damage to any enemies in a conal attack in front of you, and it reduces their movement speed by 30% for 4 seconds. And so regularly what you'll see is I'll gap close to a target, stun them, and while they're on the ground I'll hit them with a Deep Slash to debuff them and apply that minor maim. And then we'll switch over to our two-hander and start doing work on them. And so in now outnumbered situations, I might spend the first part of the encounter debuffing everybody, so that way myself, or if I'm with a small group, I usually run with no more than 4 people or so, and we look for outnumbered fights. I'll usually spend the first part of the fight CCing people and trying to debuff them, so that way our team or myself has an edge in the fight. So that's been really nice. I'm still leveling Resolving Vigor right now. You can see unbuffed, it's got a 12,000 tooltip over 4 seconds, and this is going to get much higher, almost 17 to 20,000 as we level it. I was running a different ability here, but since made the change to Vigor. The reason being is I want 2 heals coming in. This is a lot of healing, obviously you use it on almost every stamina class, but I want 2 major heals on this ability, one that's stamina and one that's magicka. And that moves us over to the next ability. This has a great burst heal for it for PvP, Arctic Blast, and you can see I'm still leveling this. Like I said, I don't spend much time on my back bar, and I've been playing a lot of this build, so to take that long leveling this says something how much we're on the front bar. But anyways, you get a burst heal from this, and then you get a hot or a heal over time for 5 seconds, and that heal over time is really nice. And then the other nice thing about this is while the effect is persistent, winds pulse outwards, dealing some frost damage to everyone nearby enemies. Enemies hit by this effect 3 times are stunned for 4 seconds. And so not only do you get a burst heal with this, and a heal over time, and a small amount of damage over time going out around you, you're also going to CC people around you. And so I do initiate fights in outnumbered situations on this back bar. Gap close into the healer, CC them so that we start dipping into their stamina reserve. I get a little tiny baby damage shield on me, that's fine. I hit Deep Slash, trying to hit as many targets as I can with the Deep Slash, and then I also hit Arctic Blast, so that way we've got this Arctic wind going out, and hopefully we CC people, additional people around us. And so if they jump on me, they're going to get hard CC'd, and then I can start doing work. They're debuffed. I've got heals coming in, and we go to work. Anyways, we're running Ice Fortress. This is my form of Major Resolve, so this is my armor buff, and it lasts for 24 seconds. And you gain minor protection, reducing your damage taken by 8% also with this ability. So we have an 8% damage reduction or mitigation by having this ability. The ultimate on our back bar is Enchanted Forest, and at 90 ultimate this comes up often. And so this is just a heal we'll throw on the ground to save myself or save team. team members, and I generate ultimate with this, so I can go from one ult to the next. So I don't have to be stingy with my ultimate use if I drop this on the ground during a heavy team fight initially at the beginning, where I'm debuffing targets and CCing them and stunning multiple targets. I don't have a problem dropping this on the ground where my team's going to fight at in outnumbered situations, because it's only a matter of time before my Dawnbreaker comes up. Meanwhile, you got to keep in mind how Himjaz is working. Any one of those targets dies, and it doesn't need to die by my hand. Any one of those targets dies, and I have both major and minor Berserk going, and so my damage output is increased by 33%. So I don't need a crazy high weapon damage. I don't need 5k weapon damage on this build. The damage output is silly. So anyways, that's the abilities here, and we looked at the abilities buff. Let's look at our food that we are running, and it might have dropped off in the time that we've been in here. It has, so we're going to take some more. Our Tayum takeaway broth is our food, and when you scroll down and look at this, gives us max health, and it gives us health recovery, it gives us stamina, max stamina, and stamina recovery. So I like where this builds at. We've kind of found this sweet spot in BGs where our stamina recovery is nice, and in CP Imperial City, in the really hard fights, I'll run into stamina problems, which everyone does. But for the most part, like, this build sustains very well, and it feels very tanky, and I think that's because of the health recovery and the fact that we're fast. We are moving Bird of Prey, or we're using Bird of Prey to move around the battlefield very quickly, and so it's hard to line up your dizzy swing and other things that are going to put damage into us. And so Bird of Prey is really nice. Like I said, I'll spam Bull Netch to get bad things off of us. I'll line up a Sub Assault heavy attack into a Dawnbreaker, and it's just a lot of damage. And the fact that reverse slices splash damage, one person gets low and everybody's eating damage. So can't really beat that. When we look at our Mundus, we are running the Steed, and so we get 10% additional movement speed on our Steed, and we get additional health recovery. And so if you wanted, there's a lot of ways that you could start stacking more damage. If you wanted to get to the 4 or 5k weapon damage on this build, you could very easily. Here's one of them. Go Warrior right here. You're going to come off an extra 10% movement speed, and you're going to lose some health recovery, so you'll feel less tanky in fights. But I can tell you, this health recovery has actually saved my butt a lot of times, because we don't have max resistances on this build. This is one of those, it's not necessarily a glass cannon, but we are not ultra tanky. 26,000, 27,000, and 22,000 physical resistance. And then on our back bar, 28,000 and 32. So we're just under spell cap, and we're just under. I've definitely run medium armor builds that are stronger than this. And I guess going back to that too, we are a 5 medium 2 heavy on this, and right now I kind of got it mixed match because of what I got, but my heavy piece is my helm and my legs. And if you were going to have 2 heavy, you either want your heavy to be your helm, chest, or legs. Okay, so we do at least have our 2 heavies in the right spot, and then everything else is medium. So let's look at the passives here real quick. For your class, you want to get all your class passives, okay? Every one of those, and I'm still working on this guy. Look how many sky shards we have. I've been PvPing and having too much fun with this guy. So you want to get all your weapon passives for two-hander, and you want to get all your sword and board. Look at that. I'm missing a lot of passives with this guy. Like I said, he's he's missing all these passives, and he's so freaking powerful. So, and medium armor, because we are 5 medium, you're going to want to get all the medium armor, and then heavy armor, you're only going to need the top 3. And Fighter Guild, because we are running Dawnbreaker of Smiting, you're going to want to get this one right here, and you'll want to have all 3 points into that. So when I'm on my 2-hand bar, just by having Dawnbreaker slotted, I'm going to get an extra 3% weapon damage on that on this bar, so that's great. And I spent a lot of time in Imperial City, and so it's full of Daedra and undead, and we're about to see in Greymore the age of werewolves and vampires really come to a head. There's going to be a lot of crazy overpowered builds with vampires and werewolves, and so Banish the Wicked is going to be nice. Um, what other one was it? This right here, Skilled Tracker. You might want to pick this up as well. This will probably be my next grab with points. Your fighter guild abilities deal an additional 20% damage to undead, Daedra, and werewolves. So your Dawnbreaker is going to hit those werewolves and vampires 20% harder. So a heavy attack into a Dawnbreaker is going to be silly, especially with this build if you've got your major and minor Berserk going. So I've completely deleted people with that combo. Sub Assault, Heavy Attack, Dawnbreaker, Execute, and there was like no counterplay to it. So that's kind of name of the game. I haven't run many dungeons at all on this guy, and so this build will only get stronger too. The stats that you see as soon as you start doing your dungeons and you get your Undaunted command, your stats are going to go up. So definitely get that. Assault as well. I don't have any of this stuff. I've just been PvPing on this guy down in the sewers, looking for fights, and so your assault tree moves a little slower down here than it would if you were just to spam uh, Q for a bunch of BGs over and over again. So, or take this to Cyrodiil and do an AP farm, which might be the play. So we are a Nord, and that's how we'll push the resistances that we are because of the rugged passive, and this is kind of a reoccurring theme for me. This rugged passive is going to give me near max medium armor resistances on a build. So I like Stalwart also. It gives me an extra line of stamina and some ult gen, and we get a little extra health and cold resistance out of this. So that is our food, our mundus, our gear, and our stats buffed, and our abilities. And then as far as changes you could make, like I said, there's tons of ways you can push more weapon damage out of this build. One of them being is the fact that this one Himjaws right now I have Swift on it, and so between this and my Mundus I have an extra 15% movement speed, and then I get an extra 30% um, from our bird of prey, and so that's what makes us very fast and keeps us out of a lot of trouble. If I wanted to come off this and go infused, I would get an extra 100, 150 weapon damage out of that. And because the way scaling works with medium armor and the passives, that move puts us almost at 4K. Infusing this puts us at 4,300 weapon damage, and so and changing our Mundus would put us at probably 45 to 4,800 after you buff up. So you could push just under 5K with this, no problem. You buff up or you get in groups with buffs and you're gonna hit really high numbers. And then keep in mind, if you save up your ultimate, 500 ultimate, currently the way Balor's is working, if I were to drop a 500 ultimate Dawnbreaker on somebody for the next 10 seconds, I'm going to have 1,000 extra weapon damage. So there's your between 5 to 6,000 weapon damage on this build with those changes. I like where we're at right now, and I do not feel like I have a lack of damage at all. Like, it hits hard. Even against the ultra tanky people, as soon as you start getting major and minor Berserk going, and you've got a 15k sub assault going out, and you have this, we feel very strong. And we feel strong and fast. We're quick on our feet. I like where it's at. But anyways, those are some changes that you can make. And then as far as abilities, switching them out. If you don't want to run a gap closer, you could get rid of this. Um, I really like having a gap closer, like I said, and this falls into the RP aspect of making a old man Kratos build, and because he will regularly stun somebody with a shield, do damage, and so this worked out really well. But if you wanted to take this out, you could, and that will give you a flex spot. And because we are running medium armor, you could pick up evasion and then pick up elude. And elude will, if you're hit with a snare or any type of slow, it gives you major expedition, so that would add to the speed of the build and keep you out of trouble. So say caltrops are on the ground, elude would, you're just going to start flying around over the top of those, and it'll give you that snare removal. So that might be one change that you could do. I honestly think you stay with these two heals. They're strong. They're very strong, and especially after in a really hard fight and you just hit a Dawnbreaker and your weapon damage because of Balor's is going through the roof. Your vigor heals and your Arctic Blast heals are just going to be top notch. So the build does not lack heals in heavy fights, and it does not lack damage. So lots of fun. Anyways, let's jump into our CP here real quick. I'm going to start adding the CP into some of my builds because I do spend so much time in Imperial City. And right now we have nothing in the Apprentice, and we have 60 in the Physical Weapon Expert, and that's because we want to do that heavy attack, and then you hit our follow-up passive for our two-hander, and then 60 into Master at Arms. 60 is my soft cap or hard cap. I don't like to go over that. If you've watched any of my videos, I explain why, and it's because the maximum amount that you could get out of this is like 25%. I've got 60 points in it, and I'm at 21%. To get another 4%, I'd have to drop 40 more points in this, and that's just simply not worth it. So 60 is a nice hard cap or soft cap for me. 60 into Precise Strikes, 30 into Piercing, so we got an extra 2,700 physical penetration. 60 into Mighty. This is going to be all of our damage output. 60 into Ironclad, 60 into Spell Shield. Here's where I differ on a lot of builds. I don't normally put a ton of points into this. You want to know how I hit my resistance cap? It's because I don't put 60 into these. I actually put 60 into, oh, I need to move that around. Look at that. We're going to hit our resistance caps because right now I have 60 into heavy armor, and we're actually a medium armor build. So when I put this into that, my physical resistances are going to go up by 4,500, and I'm going to make that change here in a second. Alright, welcome back. We made the changes here. We had discovered that our heavy armor focus actually had 60 points in it because I initially had planned on making this a heavy armor build. However, we were having too much fun on the medium armor build and just kept it as is. But anyways, we moved 60 points from the heavy armor focus to the medium armor focus, and it raised our physical resistances by 4,400. So let's jump back in real quick before we finish our CP, and we're going to look at this. Looking at it right now, on we're at 32,000 and then 32,000 on our physical resistance, and so that made us a lot more tanky. And then on our two-handed bar, 26 for both. That's really nice. We're a medium armor build with 26,000 physical and spell resistance. So anyways, jumping back into the CP after we found that, that was pleasant. Anyways, as I was saying, the way I hit my, or get close to my spell and physical resistance caps is I don't spend a lot of points in my hardy or elemental defender. The reason being is, let's say that it is a let's say there's a 10,000 physical ability coming in, 10,000 damage physical ability, and if I put 60 points into this, it's going to shave off, say, 10% of that, so which equates to 1,000 damage. Okay, 60 points into this would roughly equate to 1,000 damage mitigation from a 10,000 hit. And it's those big hits are the ones that we have to worry about, the ones that are really going to chunk life off of us. So I don't think it's worth putting 60 points into this just to get a 1,000 damage mitigation. I'd rather put 60 points into medium armor and get another 4,500 physical resistance. That just makes more sense to me. It pushes my overall stats up. So, anyways, moving on, I do have just my leftover points, 15 and 15 in this to take a little bit off of it, and 60 points into healing received. So, moving on, Warlord 60. We are going to be CC'd and we will need to break free. 60 into Mooncalf, 30 into Arcanist, 60 into Health Recovery, and this makes us feel more tanky. We're not a vampire or a werewolf, and so this makes sense for us. And we have 60 into Shadow Ward, and the reason being is our back bar is almost completely block cast capable. Even our gap closer is block cast capable, so if I don't want to be CC'd on my way to CCing the target, I can hold block as I CC shield charge in, and so that's important to know. But almost every ability on my back bar is block cast capable, and so I mitigate a lot of damage with this. We dodge roll from time to time, but more so I found that it's all about the speed, and Bird of Prey keeps us out of trouble. The fact that we've got that swift glyph on our jewelry and we're running the Steed Mundus stone for additional movement speed. We're speed based, speed and damage. Be light on your feet and hit, you know, be first, be fast, and be gone is a common saying in combat sports. So be first, be fast, and be gone. And that's how we like to be on this build. So that is a CP and CP stats and CP points, and that's the build. Himja's broken as hell right now. Jump on this build and check it out for yourself, and have fun, everybody. Be safe out there. Thanks.